Hi, my name is Candace. I'm the founder of Sufficient Grace Social Services, where our mission is to create awareness for the prevention of child molestation, child sexual abuse, and neglect, to help children to gain confidence and to find their voice, and also to help find healing from past sexual abuse and other childhood traumas through Christ. Well, today I'm continuing reading my book of becoming me. Um, yeah, so I'm not looking forward to it, but I made a commitment and I tend to stick by it this time because I know a lot of the times I've made commitments in the past and I have not stuck with them. So I am trying really hard to stick to my commitments now. So, um, this week I will be reading chapter 5. Let's see, it says chapter 5, looking for love in all the wrong places. Yeah, I think that chapter title speaks for itself. That has been my life story. I would have to say, from the time I was really young, not feeling loved or wanted from my family. You know, I suck. Wait, I seeked out love from people that abused me, and so the trend, I would have to say, continued into adulthood. Yeah. So, um, let me see. This chapter is a couple of pages. It shouldn't take a long time. And like always, I'm going to give my comments on it because I wrote this like many years ago. So, well, about 5 years ago. And I really don't know what it says. So I guess we'll read it together. So while at work one day at my aunt's shop, on my lunch break, I met a guy. Basically, we would meet up and have sex at his house. You know, let me just say something. We all have a past. We all have a past. My past is gut wrenching to me. It's embarrassing to me. It's, I didn't like it when I was going through it either. But, and earlier today, I knew I had to make this video. And I was praying. And I was saying, Lord, I don't want to read this. I already know what it says. I don't know word for word what it says, but I know what it's going to be about. And the Lord just spoke to me and said, your story can help other people. As embarrassing as it is to me, it can help other people. So that is why I'm doing this. I honestly, I really don't. I would rather not relive this. That's just the first sentence. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have fallen into a feeling of wanting someone in my life once again. I figured the only way to keep a guy around is to do whatever he asked me to do. And oh my gosh, I have that. I have to get out of that. Like, well, I think I'm finally getting to the point where I am confident enough to say, no, if you don't want me, if you don't value me, I'm not going to stick around. I'm not going to stick around just to have a guy in my life, you know? it's hard because it's tough being lonely, you know? And so, by the way, I thought that way for many years. That's why I put it in like quotations. Wait, no, parentheses. What are those? Brackets. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, I still feel that way sometimes. The times we were together did not last. The time we were together did not last long because I did not even like him. And that, let me just talk about that. From the time I was with my daughter's father, this guy that I'm talking about, because that was the next guy I was with, the guy after him, the guy after that, I really did like. But yeah, that got messed up. Then the guy after that actually raped me. And then the guy after that is my ex husband. So I would have to say, out of all the guys that I've had sex with or tried to pursue and have a relationship with, I didn't even like them. I didn't even like them. I didn't even like them. Oh my gosh. And I just didn't want to be alone. I wanted somebody to want me. And that is a sad position to be in, that you will accept anybody and anything because you don't want to be alone with yourself. I wouldn't suggest that for anybody. So I just wanted him around because I was lonely. I was still working and going to school, and it was around Christmas time. The guy had asked me to get him a PlayStation for Christmas. True story. At that time, the game station was new, um, and the PlayStation was new, and I did not know what it was. But I agreed, and I soon found out it cost over $300. I bought it for him anyway, just so that he would continue to like me. Even though I had given my life to Christ, I still struggled with self-esteem issues, and I was also battling with thoughts of my past. And that's one thing I don't think I touched on in here in this book. Right after my daughter was born, I gave my life to Christ. I didn't touch on that in this book, and um, wait, no, I think I did, but yeah, I think I did touch on that in this chapter with my daughter's father. But anyway, and so me not knowing what that meant at the time, I thought my life would magically just change and be better. And just a disclaimer, I think that a lot. Like, I think if I make the right decisions, instantly things will get better for me. Just like, I just have to say, which I have a whole chapter. I think my next chapter, chapter 6, is relationships gone wrong. Okay. No, it's 2 chapters from now. My ex husband, which he was my husband at the time. But when we got married, I thought that because we were now married, we would automatically jump into the marriage role of husband and wife. And I couldn't, for the life of me, understand why it wasn't working out. I couldn't get it. I didn't understand. And so my thinking now, I know that it takes time for things to change. Things that don't just change overnight, it takes time. And the same thing with your spiritual life, your life with God. It takes time. I'm still working on things that I didn't think I would be working on at almost 40, like my confidence, my faith in God and believing what he tells me he's going to do, he's going to actually do. It's taking time for me to come to that realization. And so yeah, things take time. But in my mind it always supposed to happen instantly. And so let me see. I did not like myself, so I looked for other people to tell me that I was an okay person. Yeah, I say that a lot in this book. Truthfully, I would have done anything anyone would have asked me to do if they just even pretended to like me. Lord Jesus, that that's true. That is true. For a long time, I didn't like myself, and if anybody pretend like they even liked me, just for a little while, it made me think I was okay. One night, this guy called me while he was drunk. I tell you the truth, once you give your life to Christ, God will always find a way to reveal the truth of what is really going on, even when you're not looking for it. Anyway, that night, in his drunken state, he wanted to have phone sex, which I was not above doing at that time. I'm just saying. This particular night, he was being real chatty. So I asked him a question. At one point, I had asked him why was he with me, and he told me that he was just with me to see what he could get out of me. Even though I did not have a lot of confidence in myself at the time, I was smart enough to know that I should never talk to him again. And that's what I did. So, yeah, he that's what he told me. He was like, straight up, you know. I'm like, oh, okay. When someone tells you, oh, I'm just talking to you, I'm just with you to see what you're going to do for me, it's like, do I need, I mean, you know, that's confirmation right there, basically, that I need to leave you alone. So at the time, living in my aunt and uncle's home, at the time, living in my aunt and uncle's home, I did not work out. Huh? Oh my gosh. Okay, so the time living in my aunt and uncle's home did not work out. So my daughter, oh gosh, okay, so my my daughter and I ended up moving back in with my dad. We lived with my dad and my brother for many years. Something that I would like to point out is that although I was saved and confessed Jesus as my Lord and Savior and baptized, I was not instantly changed, but God had been working on me this whole time. Truth. And I just said that. I can see looking back now that it was little by little my life changed. I started to see more and more that God loved me and wanted my love in return. It was not anything that could be held in my hand or proven with tangible facts, but by faith it was happening and I believed it and I see it now. I'm glad I realized that then. Wow. Because even me from when I wrote this to the me I am now, it's like night and day. When I tell you, even after I wrote this book, and I wrote it and then I put it down, and then I rewrote it again some years later, a couple of years later, and then I put it down again. and I never looked at it. And so, like, the person I was when I wrote this, and the person that I was when I rewrote it, and a person that's reading it now, I wouldn't even think of them as the same people. I mean, I'm so different. And just my thoughts and my feelings. I mean, some things are the same. I can't say everything is different, but a lot of things are different for me. And I have to thank God for that, because without him, I wouldn't be where I am. I mean, I'm financially, I'm still struggling, I still have a lot of stress in my life. I'm still battling with high blood pressure and different things like that. But my mind, how I feel about myself, 100% better. It's 100%. I did not love myself. I did not like myself. I did not care what happened to me. I looked for other people to validate me. And I could truly say today that I love myself. I care about myself. And I refuse to let anybody treat me bad and just sit there and take it. You might treat me bad, but I'm going to tell you about yourself now. And I might forgive you, I mean, I definitely forgive. It's no might about that. But I might forgive you to the point where I let you stay in my life, or I might just let you go on your merry way, you know? But that's growth, in my opinion, because I've never been that way. I've been a railroad track, and just let people just drive right over me, ride right over me, and just I wouldn't complain. I would complain to myself. I would internalize it and think, wow, something must really be wrong with me for people to treat me like this. But the reality is, this is how people treat other people. Crappy people, they don't care who they treat bad. They're going to treat whoever bad. And if you accept it, they're going to keep doing it. Plain and simple. And so, let me keep reading. Even though I was trying to go on the right track, I still messed up a lot of times, and I still do. But I know that God forgives us even when we think that we are so horrible that no one can possibly forgive us, not even ourselves. Just ask and believe. I say this because I know that I need to hear this today for myself. I say it again. God loves you and forgives you. Just ask and believe. My Father in heaven, through my faith in Jesus Christ, is still doing a work in me. I am still a work in progress. In the words of Joyce Meyer, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be. Thank you, Joyce Meyer. After my daughter and I moved back with my dad, I continued to go to school and try to figure out what I was supposed to be doing with my life. Although I have to say, the Lord has always put on my heart that I'm supposed to help people, even though I did not know how to help or what I was supposed to help with at that time. It was hard going to school with a young child to take care of, but by the grace of God and help from my family, it worked out. Eventually, I ended up switching schools for a while and began going to massage therapy school, which massages is something I'm very, very passionate about. When my mom was sick, um, when she had cancer, I would give her massages, and it seemed to help her. It seemed to make her feel better. And so I figured that that was something that I was meant to do, was to help. I always wanted to be in the medical field, but I was going to be a nurse. But after my mom died, I was like, I can't do that. And so um, I figured being a massage therapist would be a good thing. I'm still helping people. I'm still you know, making people feel better, but I'm not in a medical setting. And so I thought that that was a good fit for me. But I didn't realize that I could make money off of it, you know, and it was very, very taxing on my body. So I felt this overwhelming need to help people, and I figured that since I gave good back massages, that would be a good career to go into. I know now that I had made a big mistake going into that profession because even though I knew at the time it was something that I wanted to do, I soon realized that the Lord was not in it. Yeah. Although I really do enjoy giving massages, I just stick to giving them to family now. Although I was excited in school, I mean, excellent in school, I was really good at being a massage therapist. Nothing really came out of it, out of all of the training and the time and money that I put into it. While still in massage therapy school, one day I was walking my daughter to daycare. At the time, she was about 2 or 3. I was walking her as usual past the beauty supply store. On the way there. I know the story. I remember now. On the way there, and there was a man standing outside handing out flyers. He spoke to me and asked me for my number. I did not particularly think he was attractive at all, but after all I had been through, all it took was for someone to have some kind of interest in me for me to want to be with them. Why am I like this? And of course, I always thought to keep a man in your life, you must do whatever he asks you to do. If there's a young woman, young girl out there listening to this, don't do that. Don't be like me, okay? It never turns out good. At that moment, I did not stop to give him my number. Instead, I continued to drop my daughter off. On the way back, I was hoping that he would be gone. But he was still there, and now he was walking with me down the street, talking to me and telling me how attractive I was to him. I did not believe a word he was saying, but I chose to hang out with him anyway instead of going to school that day. Till this day, I don't know why I went off with that man that I didn't even know. Gosh, I used to do some very, very, very dumb things. That day, I felt I was getting to know him, although some of the stuff he told me did not make much sense, but I went along with it anyway. I was about 22 at the time, and it had been about 6 to 8 months since I had stopped talking to the other guy. I did not have sex with this guy that day, that day, but the next time I saw him, I did. I felt bad because I had just started to get my life back on track, so I thought. But whenever I start feeling lonely, the devil always has someone waiting in the wings for me. That is true. Oh, Lord Jesus, that's true. So I, so called, started dating this guy for about a month, maybe a little longer. We had sex every time we met up. I was young and very dumb, very dumb. I let my loneliness control my actions. This guy was a mess. I did not like this. I wait. I did not like him at all. Gosh, I really need to, but I did. I rewrote this book, so I'm not gonna trip. He would hang up the phone on me, and he would not answer my calls when I called him back. Then he would call me and ask me if we could hang out. He was a jerk. At the time, I think he was in his late 30s, way too old to be acting so childish. Even though he treated me so badly, I still tried my best to keep him around. The relationship ended because one day he had taken me to a motel. This is a bad story, okay? A motel room. Oh, I spelled room wrong. He asked me to pay for it. I'm sorry. Yes, he took me to a motel on like 60 something, 63rd or 65th in Halsted, like somewhere in the hood. Like I'm not even from there. I'm from the hundreds. I know nothing about like the 60s, nothing. And so, yes, he took me to this dirty motel and had the nerve to tell me he didn't have any money and asked me to pay for it. So what did I do? Of course, he was going to pay me back. Anyway, when we got there, he wanted to have anal sex. I told him no. So instead, he just wanted oral sex. So I agreed. I was doing my best, doing the best that I could. Granted, I'm no expert, okay? Let me tell you. I don't know if it's in here. Okay, yeah, it is. Okay. So I'm going to just read on. Also, he was a very large guy down there. Okay, that's all I said about it. Okay. When I tell you his male anatomy was the size of like a horse's male anatomy, if you catch my drift. I'm just gonna say that. Um, yeah, and he won. Let's just move on. He was a bodybuilder with a very nice body and a not so nice looking face. Ugh, he was not a cute. He was not cute. Let me put that. But his body was perfect as it gets. When I tell you, whoo, yes, he had a really nice body. At the time, I thought he was on steroids because of his frequent mood swings, but that was just my guess. I don't want to slander nobody, but yeah, I think he was on steroids. But anyway, that oral sex session was never ending, and he never finished. Like, did I write that in there? Okay. Come to think about it, at come to think about it, as many times as we had sex, he never finished, or should I say, have an orgasm. He never came, like ever, anytime. It's just after a while he would stop and say, "Okay, I'm done." I'm like, now I'm not an expert on these things, but I don't think that that's how it's supposed to end. I don't know. Yeah, so it was really strange, to say the least. It was really strange. So this we were at it for this for a good while, and I began to get tired. My neck started hurting, and I wanted to stop. When I told him, he became very angry with me, as he was already upset with me anyway. He always seemed to be agitated about something, and I was never afraid of him up to that point. But I have to say, at that moment, I was afraid. He was yelling and cursing at me and said he was ready to go. And I was too. He continued to curse at me in the car and while he was driving me home. Although I was afraid, I did not show it, and I was arguing right back with him. Why I get in the car with him? Okay, this man was driving erratic. It was crazy. I remember it like it was yesterday. Like he was cursing me out, saying all kind of things to me, and I'm fighting. I'm arguing with him. I mean, we didn't hit each other. Oh, thank God. But I was arguing with this idiot. Like, why? Anyway, all of a sudden he pulled over and told me to get out of the car. So I did, and he drove off. How dumb am I? Like, seriously. At that moment, I felt like the dumbest person alive. Here I was doing all of this for this guy, and I did not even like. Of course, I knew he was just using me. I'm just glad that I knew how to take the bus on the south side of Chicago because it would have been kind of hard to call someone for a ride and have to explain to my family why I was over there on that side of town. Candace. Wow. Okay. Girl. When I did finally make it home, I told myself I would never see him again. But he didn't call me again anyway. Although about a year later he did call me saying that he would just found my number and I told him to lose it again. Well, I did. I told him to lose it. And it's funny because some years later, when I was with my husband at the time, and I had told him the story when we first met, and we weren't married yet. We were just dating. I saw the guy, and we were at a laundromat, and I was like, "That's the guy. That's the guy I was telling you about." And he looked at him. He was like, "Him?" I'm like, "Well, at the time he was like lifting weights and stuff. He had shrunk down. I think it was him. To tell you the truth, maybe it wasn't. I don't know." So anyway, I continued to go to massage therapy school and I was doing very well. Yeah. School was hard, but I managed to get straight A's. And I would have been like valedictorian or something. But in the program, it was a 12-month program, and they would let you miss up to 1 day a month. Every month was a different module in the program, and you could miss up to 1 day. And I was taking my day. I didn't care. I did not care. I was taking my day. And the only reason why I wasn't valedictorian or salutatorian was because I didn't have perfect attendance. The people that got it, they were straight A students and they had perfect attendance. And that was the reason why I didn't get it, which, hey, it was worth it because I needed that day off. So I didn't care. I met a lot of good friends there, some of which I still talk to today, and that's true. Kenyatta, I love you, girl. Anyway, there was a woman in my class that lived rather close to where I lived. And being that most of the rest of the people in our class either lived downtown, up north, or on the west side, it was very odd that we just so happened to live about 6 blocks away from each other. It was really strange. We became close friends and we even hung out outside of school. She had a brother in law that she thought that we would be good together. I told her I was interested, so she hooked us up. He was okay, I guess. I really liked him actually. He had a young son who was a little older than my daughter. I thought that we hit it off the first time we met, so once again, he wanted to have sex with me, and I gave it to him on the second meeting. Soon after that day, he started avoiding my calls, but when I did finally talk to him again, he told me that he was not interested in me because he said I gave it up too easily. Oh gosh. Yeah, I agree with him. That was a lesson learned. And that's a good thing. I learned a lot of lessons throughout my years. And that was a big lesson right there. What I could say was he was right. I have to say that that was a lesson learned well and an eye opener for me. I was determined to never make that same mistake again. And that is the end of that chapter. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And so, yeah. Oh, see, that chapter and the next one, I kind of split them up because it's kind of like a continuation. But yeah, I think that's a good place to end that chapter because that was an eye opener for me. And I really liked that guy. Like, I really liked him, and I thought that we would have a future together. But turns out he was like stuck on his baby mama, like in love with her. She did him wrong, wrong, like to the point where he didn't even know if his son was his. And so he was sure that was his son. I'm not going to say that. But he loved her. I mean, loved her. And she had other kids with other guys, and she ran around on them. They weren't together, but you could tell he wanted to be back with her. And so it was like I was nothing to him because, he knew who he wanted to be with. And I can't blame him for that because we all be chasing the ones that don't want us. me, the ones that's good for us, the ones that will love us and treat us well, be right in our face, and we be like, don't want that. I want that one over there. They can't stand me. They use me. What is that about? But anyway, so that's the end of chapter 5. What was the name of chapter 5? Looking for love in all the wrong places. And I would like to end this session, like I'm in at my job. I would like to end this video as I always end my videos by saying, if you know of a child or if you are a child who has been or is currently being abused, sexually or abused in any kind of way, please call your local law enforcement agency, 911, or 1-800 for a child. And if you are an adult who has been through sexual abuse, any type of abuse as a child, and you're holding it in, I hope and pray for you to find someone that you trust so that you can get your feelings out. You can have somebody to talk to because it's easier to go through life once you've processed those things, and find somebody that can help you go through it at your pace, what you feel comfortable with talking about. And most times that's a professional, a pastor, somebody that you can trust, like a trusted person, a trusted friend, somebody that is not going to take your information, not going to take your story and try to exploit you with it. And what else was I going to say? I don't know. I have no clue. Yeah. Well, okay. You can find my book of Becoming Me, and my other books. I don't have copies of them. I think I have a copy of one right here. It's Okay to Tell, my children's book. You can find copies of these books and my other books on Amazon. And I appreciate you taking a little time to have this conversation with me. And I will see you next time. And